Hi, this is Joe again with another review. For the sake of this video, we're going to be discussing the 2003 film. I'm going to be discussing the 2003 film Timeline, starring Paul Walker, Joe Butler. I also had Billy Connolly, more famously the television show Head of the Class. And I forgot the women who were in this film. Because this film is based on the Michael Crichton novel of the same name. And unfortunately, this was, I believe, was the last movie based on Michael Crichton's book to be released. Because Michael Crichton died like 5 years later, and even though he has written a couple of other books before he died, and some of the books came out after he died. But this was the last book that came out as a movie. And unfortunately, the movie tanked because people just got like lousy reviews. I mean, I think Rotten Tomatoes gave it like an 11% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and I just recently watched this movie again, and I'm like, why? I mean, I went to see it when it came out, and it wasn't bad. It was like a stereotypical Michael Crichton story, mixing science, a little bit of history involved. Technology, particularly computer technology, and it's like a stereotypical story of his, technology going bad, or people get placed in a really terrible situation, and so it's basically one of his, like I said, it's a basic Michael Crichton story, in which he was very successful when he was like Jurassic Park, Rising Sun. Even Disclosure even has overload technology in that story as well. So this was just another one of those stories, and it tanked. But like I said, I just watched it again. It wasn't really bad. Well, going to the plot of the story is there's a bunch of archaeologists who are in these ruins in Spain. Not in Spain, in France, actually. And what they were examining were ruins from the 100 Years' War between France and England. And this was one of the most famous battles because apparently there was a woman, or a French woman who was killed, named Lady Claire, who was killed by the British, and that gave extra motivation to the French to defeat the British and get the British out of France, which was eventually what happened. And this was like the turning point of it. So there's one particular point, and this is where the criticism of the film comes in the story. There's one particular point where they find this tunnel, and one of the archaeologists, one of the women, the only woman who's in the story, other than Lady Claire, says, "Who's the son? I'd like to find out who the son of a bitch is who ruined this terrific artwork done in this tunnel." Because apparently there's always been in that tunnel for like 600 years. So she wanted to know who was the son of a bitch who ruined this tunnel and stuff. And then it turns out in the story that it turned out to be her. The one who said, I want to know who's the son of a bitch who ruined this. It turns out to be her. Which we're going to get into in a minute. Well, when this was going on, there was this professor who was like the head of this archaeology dig. Played with Billy Connolly, who was like a famous Scottish, comedian, who was more famously in his career anyway. He had, I think, a couple of other minor roles in other movies, but his most famous role was replacing Howard Hesseman in the television series in the ABC television series Head of the Class. And there was only other major role he had. So he was a professor. He actually went back in time, 600 years, to the time or just before they had this battle, and that I mentioned earlier. So the company who says the time travel thing, because this research company found this wormhole, and they could transport people through this wormhole back 600 years to this particular point in time in history. And that's where the professor is, and he can't get back. So they sent a whole bunch of other archaeologists for this dig. And Paul Walker played Billy Connolly's son in this film. So he's the only one who wasn't technically an archaeologist, because he just wanted to get his father back. Everybody else there was part of this archaeology team, and including the girl who says, "I wonder who's the son of a bitch who ruined this painting." And they all get transported back, and you actually do see that process in the film, and it's described very well in the book. Because, like I said, I read the book. So you get transported back, and they just having to find out that it was the day when they supposed to have this battle, at this particular castle where they were examining. So when they had the dig, I should say. So they do end up finding the professor, and a couple of them actually do end up getting killed. And one of them, the Gerald Butler character, was always interested because they found a tomb of this one guy who had his ear cut off, and he was very interested about this guy. And it turns out that he was the guy who had his ear cut off. I mean, it's like one of those crazy time paradox type things that most critics, when you have a time paradox movie like this is, most critics turn their noses at it and they make fun of it. They say, "Oh, how could they not know?" And all this type of thing. How could they not know that it was them? How stupid could these people be? And it's like, I mean, if you read the book, it's plausible. They could not know, because if they're born in, let's say, the 20th century, something that happened 600 years earlier, because of the time travel paradox thing, they could not have known. You have to think of the time paradox thing. They could not have known. True, they should have known, in hindsight, but, they didn't know. So it's crazy bullshit stuff that's going on here. But anyway, the guy who eventually would get his ear cut off, and you do see it in the end battle sequence, he happens to fall in love with Lady Claire, and he happens to save her life, which kind of changed history a little bit, because she was supposed to have died. Originally, she was supposed to have died, and so you can't change the timeline. That's the name of the story, timeline, but you can't change history. You can't rewrite history. It's kind of like the thing with Star Trek with Kirk and Joan Collins, in the famous episode there. And so, you saved your life, you change all history. And they really didn't change history that much. At the end of this film, they really didn't, because he saved her life. He didn't really change history that much for saving her life, because the French still ended up winning the battle and drove the British out of France. So he didn't really change history that much, in hindsight, by the end of the film. But he falls in love with her, and of course this is the other scene, other than the two characters finding out, it was me who I was the one who ruined this painting in this tunnel, or this this painting in this wall in this tunnel, and the other one says, I was the one who had my ear cut off. And I said, then there's those two scenes, but the real scene a lot of people were complaining about was not just those two scenes, but was strike 3 in this film. And the reason why the movie got panned was that Gerald Butler was flirting with Lady Claire in the film. He said, "Oh, you're married? All right, you're not married, neither am I. All right, hubba. Well, he didn't say hubba, but he was flirting with her like crazy, saying, "Oh, you're married, or you about to get married to somebody." And he goes, "No." I said, "Neither am I. I'm not married either. I'm not engaged. I'm not involved with somebody." So the two were flirting with each other, and that's what really, that particular scene, plus the other two scenes I just mentioned, are the 3 reasons why this movie got panned. I mean, if there's people who read this book, read the book, I mean, true, a lot of movies are based on a novel, but if the people took the time to read the books, I mean, it wouldn't bother them. These plot points might bother people, but it didn't bother me because I read the story, so I knew that the scenes were coming. So I knew that if they're going to include it in the film, that's another thing. But I knew the scenes were in this original novel, the original source material. So it makes sense that it's in the movie, and it didn't bother me like it did to critics because I read the book. So all you had to do is read the book before seeing the movie, and then you kind of stand in better context if you read the book first. That's for any movie that's based on a book. Read the book first. And so what happened is, of course, actually the characters that are remaining in the story, they all end up surviving the big battle at the end, except for Gerald Butler's character, because he decided to stay, and of course later on I find out that he was the one who had the ear cut off, and he was with or married Lady Claire in the story, and they found the tomb of the two of them together, and it was that tomb, by the way. It wasn't just some tomb in effigy. It was really actually the actual tomb, because they were buried together, and a statue on top of the grave is probably like a depiction of the two of them holding hands, on this sarcophagus. So it was really a nice little thing. They didn't notice it before when they dug up the grave, and now they dug it up when they found it. Not Paul Walker. Gerald Butler's character with Lady Claire buried together, and the effigy has both of them holding hands. And they thought it was great. I thought they were and they lived a lot longer. At least Lady Claire lived a lot longer than she had originally, because she, like I said, she got killed just before the battle, the big battle at the end. So, as a story, I thought it was a good story. I thought it was interesting. It had my interest in the whole thing, especially the whole technology stuff. It was a good story. It might not be the best story of Michael Crichton stories, but it held my interest. I liked the story, and I liked the movie. But unfortunately, like I said at the top of this video, most critics panned it. Like I said earlier, it got 11% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and on the source. I don't know what the hell the people are thinking. I mean, it's like, if you read the book, you notice what, because I already mentioned the 3 plot points that people, give a lousy review for, and it's really nitpicking. It really is. But Timeline is one of the better movies that's in the Michael Crichton universe. And that's where they did one with Airframe, which they never did because of all the airplane crashes that was going on at the time the book came out. So, on that particular novel came out, I wish they went on that one. That's about the only other one that I've read that they should have done a movie on. So that's my review of the movie Timeline. Please click on the video, please rate it. Please subscribe to my channel. Please forward this video to your Facebook pages. You can watch all my videos now on my YouTube channel at RowleyC.com. It's over WDY, and then C.com. It's the homepage you're on the reviewer. Christy Moore, and please check out all of his videos on his website. Thanks for watching, and catch you next time.